It's often said that putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest skill in football. That's why attacking players are usually much more expensive than defensive ones. Here are the best goal scorers per decade in the last 100 years. 1920s, Dixie Dean. Dixie Dean was one of the most prolific centre-forwards English football has ever produced. Born in Birkenhead, he began his career with local team Tranmere Rovers in 1923. In his only full season with the club, Dean scored 27 goals in 30 league games. That brought him a move to Everton, where he took his goal-scoring feats to new heights. In total, he scored 400 times in 450 matches for the club. He was at his very best in the 1920s. In 27 to 28, he scored a remarkable 60 goals in 39 First Division outings as Everton won the title. Across the calendar year, he put the ball in the net 85 times in all competitions. Dean was absolutely deadly in front of goal. If you gave him a chance inside the penalty area, he usually took it. 1930s, Giuseppe Miyaza. Italy dominated world football in the 1930s. They won the World Cup on home soil in '34, then successfully defended their title in France 4 years later. Giuseppe Miyaza was one of the stars of that team. He scored 33 times for his country across the decade. Only Gigi Riva has netted more goals for Italy. Miyaza scored for fun at club level too. He spent the whole of the 1930s with Inter and scored a total of 282 goals for them. Almost 100 years on from his debut, he's still their highest ever goal scorer. Miyaza wasn't just a fox in the box. He was an excellent all-round footballer who could play in a variety of different roles, as a central striker, a wide forward, an attacking midfielder, or even as a deep-lying playmaker. In 1980, he had the honour of having Inter and AC Milan's stadium named after him. Although it's still commonly known as the San Siro, its official name is the Stadio Giuseppe Miyaza. 1940s, Josef Bitsan. Josef Bitsan is the greatest goal scorer you've never heard of. Born in Austria-Hungary in 1913, he played for 9 clubs and 2 different national teams. No matter which shirt he was wearing, he was an elite marksman. Bitsan possessed incredible pace. He ran the 100 metres in 10.8 seconds, which was virtually unheard of at the time. His speed off the mark gave him the edge on defenders, and his pinpoint finishing did the rest. Bitsan spent his entire career in Central and Eastern Europe. He was at his peak at Slavia Prague, where he scored 395 goals in just 193 matches in the 1940s. Bitsan averaged 0.74 goals per game for Austria before switching to Czechoslovakia before the start of the decade. His record for them was even better, 0.86 goals per game. 1950s, Ferenc Puskas. The Hungary side of 1954 are one of the greatest teams not to win the World Cup. If Ferenc Puskas had been fully fit for the final against West Germany, the magical Magyars would surely have triumphed. There's a reason FIFA named the Puskas Award after the Hungarian legend. At his peak, Puskas was one of the greatest forwards we've ever seen. He didn't look particularly athletic, but he had a left foot to die for and could score goals from anywhere. From 1950 to 1956, Puskas scored 54 goals in 60 appearances for his country. He joined Real Madrid from Budapest Honved in 1958 and immediately hit the ground running. In his first 2 seasons at Madrid, at the end of the decade, Puskas netted 72 goals in 70 games. Even in a star-studded team like Real's, Puskas stood out as something special. 1960s, Pele. First of all, we need to give an honourable mention to the great Eusebio. The Portuguese icon was at the peak of his powers in the 1960s, when his goals fired Benfica to 7 league titles and a European Cup. Had he played in another decade, Eusebio might be our pick. He's just unfortunate that he was around at the same time as Pele, one of the very best to ever do it. No one scored more goals for Santos or Brazil than Pele. In total, he scored 1,279 goals in 1,363 games. Some were friendlies, but many of those were actually very competitive matches as Santos toured Europe. Pele is the only player in history to win 3 World Cups. The 1960s also brought him 6 Brazilian titles. 2 Copas Libertadores, and 2 Intercontinental Cups. His best scoring season was 1965, when Pele found the net 64 times in 46 games for Santos. On his day, Pele was quite literally unstoppable. 1970s, Gert Muller. If you had to put your life on any player in football history scoring a one-on-one chance, Gert Muller would be a good pick. The man nicknamed Der Bomber was the perfect example of a penalty box predator. Sometimes you forgot Muller was even on the pitch. A minute later, he'd put the ball in the back of the net. When the ball entered the 18-yard box, he came alive. Muller's record for West Germany is magnificent. 62 games, 68 goals. And he didn't just make the net bulge in meaningless friendlies either. Muller scored in the finals of the 1972 Euros and the 74 World Cup, as his country scooped both prizes. He was just as important to Bayern Munich. Muller scored 356 goals for Bayern in the 1970s, when they won 3 Bundesliga titles and 3 European Cups. 1980s, Marco van Basten. Marco van Basten scored one of the best international goals of all time in the final of Euro '88. His thunderous volley helped the Netherlands beat the Soviet Union to win their first major trophy. That was only the most famous of Marco's magical moments. Even Roy Keane would agree he burst onto the scene in the 1980s. Van Basten scored 152 goals in 172 matches for Ajax, earning himself a move to AC Milan in 1987. His eye for goal was just as sharp in Italy, where defences were used to having the upper hand. Van Basten was the chief goal-getter for Arrigo Sacchi's brilliant side that won back-to-back European Cups in 1989 and 1990. Van Basten could have extended his world-class performances into another decade, but an ongoing ankle injury meant he played his last professional game aged just 28. There were other fantastic goal scorers in the 80s too, such as Hugo Sanchez, Gary Lineker and Ian Rush, but Van Basten was in a league of his own. 1990s, Ronaldo. Before Cristiano, there was only one Ronaldo. Oh, Fenomeno. That nickname couldn't be more accurate. He really was phenomenal. Before persistent knee injuries reduced his athleticism, Ronaldo could do it all. He had strength, speed and skill in abundance. The Brazilian was very close to the complete footballer. Ronaldo scored 44 goals in 47 games for Cruzeiro, followed by 54 goals in 57 matches for PSV. His record in one season at Barcelona was just as exceptional. 47 goals in 49 outings. With every transfer, Ronaldo took his game to another level. He continued to score for fun at Inter, but in the penultimate month of the decade, his knee problems began. Ronaldo still had success afterwards, but he was at his most thrilling in the 1990s. His compatriot Romario was another outstanding goalscorer who deserves a mention, but Ronaldo is regarded by many as the best Brazilian since Pele. 2000s, Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry was more than just a goalscorer. He jointly holds the record for the most assists in a Premier League season after providing 20 in 2002-03. The Frenchman could create chances as well as convert them. First and foremost, though, Henry was tasked with putting the ball in the back of the net. He did it with aplomb for Arsenal, notching 200 goals in 323 games from 2000 to 2001 to 06-07. By the time he left, Henry had become the club's all-time record goalscorer. He'll always be synonymous with the Gunners, but Henry had a successful spell at Barcelona too. His 49 goals in 121 games helped the Catalans win 2 La Liga titles and a Champions League. Add to that his Euro 2000 triumph and the fact he's still France's all-time top scorer, and it's fair to say Henry was the cream of the crop for this decade. There were other fine goal scorers around, such as Andrei Shevchenko, Ruud van Nistelrooy and David Villa, but Thierry Henry is our pick for the 2000s. 2010s, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. First of all, how on earth do you separate these two? The 2010s belong to Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, arguably the two greatest players of all time. Ronaldo was prolific throughout the decade. In 2011-12, he scored 60 goals for Real Madrid in all competitions. In 2014-15, he struck 61 times. His goals in subsequent seasons helped Madrid win 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Ronaldo's deadly for his country too. He's now the highest international scorer ever, and the bulk of his goals for Portugal came in the 2010s. Messi also scored hundreds of goals that decade. His best season was 2011-12, when he found the net 73 times for Barcelona. Whether he played as a false nine or a right-sided forward, Messi was lethal in and around the penalty area. Between 2010-11 and 19-20, Messi scored 507 goals at club level, and Ronaldo notched up 482. For their countries, Messi got 57 and Ronaldo 77. Those are extraordinary numbers. We should enjoy them both while they're still around. 2020s. Robert Lewandowski. Okay, admittedly, we're still near the start of the 2020s, but one man is already out in front in the goal-scoring stakes. Robert Lewandowski is getting better with age. He should have won the Ballon d'Or in 2020, but the award was cancelled because of the pandemic. Lewandowski was sensational in the 20-21 season. He scored 41 goals in 29 Bundesliga appearances, breaking Gert Muller's long-standing record for the most goals in a season in Germany's top tier. He's picked up where he left off in 2021-22. On December the 17th, he scored his 30th goal of the campaign in all competitions. Lewandowski may well turn 34 later this year, but he's showing no signs of slowing down. Who do you think is the greatest goal scorer of all time? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe.